What is up, everyone? Jordan here with another MJRL Hobby Stuff video. Today we have with us a super special guest, the man, Mahalo Comics himself, Chris Caravalho. Chris, thank you for being on the channel.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Everybody, in the link down in the description to the Kickstarter for Kamehameha #1. It's been 4 days. It launched March 1st. Today's the 4th. It's already got $7,500 worth of backers, and 100+ people have already backed the project.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, everybody out there. Appreciate you.
Fully funded. Chris, just talk about it.
Yeah. The Kamehameha project itself, it was something that I realized I wanted to reconnect with my native roots. After like 15 or so issues about superheroes from Hawaii, I'm like, it's time to switch gears and go back and give back, by telling a story that everybody knows here about somebody so famous. There's a little bit of hesitancy with that, but I overcame that by thinking my motives are just pure, and intention is to just tell that story, share that story for that generation coming up, because comics, like we know, it just hooks you. It can grab you. It's vibrant. It's something that it could be like a gateway or a spark for them to say, hey, this story is crazy. I want to learn more. Then maybe the option is to read a textbook about it. It definitely moves them and motivates them. Hopefully creates that passion for Hawaiian history and culture.
Okay, so what prompted you to do a comic about Kamehameha?
Okay, so what prompted me was actually, I was, after doing all these books about, my team, Amakua, which is basically the many races and faces that we have on the islands. I mean, I love that. I love sharing that island culture. But I think it was time to also share that native side that I do have, and talk about like somebody just iconic in Hawaiian history, and who bigger than Kamehameha at that point. And like during conventions, when people would come across the table and buy my books, they said, hey, do you have anything in regards to history or like a myth of Hawaii? And it's like, that's something I really should look into that. So come like last year, I'd say the beginning part of summer, that's when I started to formulate this plan and get the idea together. And I shot up a message to DJ Kavikani, who's the artist of the book. I said, DJ, you're the man that I want by my side on this, because I know he shares a passion for getting keikis to read and getting him excited about, like I said, the culture and history. So he agreed, and with that, I mean, just steamrolled, and let's do this. And like I was saying, there was a little hesitancy on his part, but that's just oh, should we, should not? But if we don't, then who's gonna do it?
That's
really?
Right, that's right.
And who's gonna do it? So yeah, we went ahead and started creating it. It wasn't too long after that. I gotta share this story too. Is during the beginning stages of it, Kamehameha Schools, they reached out to me, and they said, hey, do you want to be a part of our Kamehameha internship program? Would you like some interns? I was like, I've never done that. I think me being in like the COVID-19 where all events where nothing was happening, I said, this would be a great opportunity to try to work with youth and to show them what we do over here at Mahalo Comics. And
were these interns high schoolers?
Yeah, they were high schoolers, a part of that summer program. So initially it was Moki Hana, which is she was the artist. She wanted to learn a little bit about artwork and what I'm doing for Mahalo Comics. I started giving her lessons and showing her the basic foundation, but secretly I was still working on the Kamehameha, and I said, I'm going to give her an opportunity to do a variant cover, but I'm not going to tell her right out the gate. So I'm going to just sort of sneak it in to the exercise and say, hey, by the way, what you just drew, I'm going to make it a variant cover. So she had no idea, and I think she was really excited about that opportunity. So with that came another intern who said, hey, I'd love to make this in Olelo, Hawaii. And Kalohi was my other intern. She said, I'll do that translation. And I was like, go for it. I mean, you can write anything, and I probably wouldn't understand, but I'm trusting you because that is important too, because just that for that next, keikis coming up to be learning the story, it's such an excellent tool to get them motivated to read. That's the whole key right there. Like I said, growing up, me and you, I mean, comics was a thing because it just has that way, just keep you locked in, focused, and hooked. It's a great escape,
Awesome. That's awesome, Chris. I want to know, what books or resources did you use to set up like the skeleton of your comic?
Okay, so movie magic, I suddenly got these books in my hands. But right over here, this is an excellent source. If you are just interested in all things related to like the chiefs of Hawaii, ruling chiefs, it's just a really good book from the beginning to the end of just all the different eras of chiefs. Definitely grab this one. This is something that I totally recommend. Harder to find, but if you do, we got this one at Bishop Museum. We got it for a pretty decent deal. This is another one. This one's made by Kamehameha Press as well. Kohala Kuamo'o. This is a story about Nauali's race to save the king. It really is ideal, and it shows the different routes and towns that he had managed to try to escape with baby Kamehameha. So this is actually a really good starting point. There were some other great books on Kamehameha that I used, but also word of mouth from people who shared a few little stories here and there. I used a couple of their ideas when they shared with me. I said, oh yeah, that'd be a good thing, like a good lesson. I'm going to try to insert that. So it really covers from his birth, which was totally death-defying, and it's straight out of a movie if you really think about it, like biblical kind, and it goes all the way to like his training as a warrior, and that's where I kind of end it because this story is just so massive. Right. I've just figured out you're going to get a bite size of this, and I'm going to try to add so much things in it to make it just totally just enjoyable and highly entertaining.
Yeah, that's the key, right?
Yeah,
it's got to be entertaining.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, it's a documentary.
Yeah,
what are we doing? Yeah. I wanted it to be more than just a textbook. It has to add a little bit of story and flavor where kids can connect and see, okay, this is what's happening. I get it. I can understand this, and that's the whole point of that book.
Do you have your favorite short story about Kamehameha that you can share?
There's a few.
Yeah, I bet.
Here's one that I read. This is when he was older, not compared to what I have him in the comic, but he was with his one of his aides, and I can't remember his aides. They're in Lapahoihoi area, I believe, in one of the valleys. Here comes these enemies, and there were a ton of them, like 40, 50, however many they were coming. And you think Kamehameha backed down? He said, heck no. He went because he was just with the other one guy. He went charging in. He killed like 30 of them. Then he looks over to his friend and says, I'm getting tired. Are you going to help out? And the friend goes, oh! And then he comes and he kills the last 10. So, I mean, that's just legendary.
That's crazy.
I can't see.
That's crazy.
And if you go, but the thing is, what I like about this too, Jordan, is these places, these areas that happen, it still exists.
Right.
Can you imagine all that mana and energy that still exists in those areas, those places?
Yeah, chicken skin.
Yeah, it really is. And you're just like, holy crap, did that happen over there? Yeah. But people don't know, they forget. Progress happens, things get covered up. But if we can share these stories, highlight them, people are like, wow, get excited again. That it stirs everything back up, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Speaking of the combat, you mentioned on Facebook somebody, your martial arts master.
Yeah.
Give us a tidbit on her.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So Kumu Manu, she actually was very gracious enough I reached out to her and said, hey, we're doing this story about Kamehameha. He gets training. We would really appreciate it if you could do some like highlight moves of doing some of these, because we have no idea. We don't know what that's like, but we wanted to keep it authentic. Like I said, she was more than helpful. She says, hey, I'll do it. She did it. DJ just, looked it over, put it all together. And I didn't want to share it on social media yet because I want you to experience on your own how it's beautiful, but it's so brutal. It's so brutal. But it's something that I think it will just say, hey, what is this? What's happening? And once again, you're talking about something that maybe someone doesn't know. This is the martial art, ancient style of Lua. Mm-hmm. What's that about? I'm going to go look into it and see what that is. Yep. So it's always to discover something, to learn about something. And I'm glad that this comic can do that for people.
Let's talk about the beginning. You said 2014?
Yeah.
Well, how did you just take the plunge and say, I'm going to do this as Monocomics guy?
Okay, to do 2014, I have to go back to when I was that little kid buying spin rack comic books, and the shy kid who was drawing in the back of the class, and an icebreaker would be to draw my classmates as superheroes, and they'd come by and that was my wake to open up and try to have a conversation because I was socially awkward, but I didn't know at that time drawing my classmates. And just like Hawaii is, it's that mixed plate. So I got my Samoan, Chinese, Korean, Portuguese friends just all together. And that was the foundation for what would later become Monocomics. With the idea was to have superheroes from Hawaii.
Oh, that's great.
And but of course, from then to all those years, it was me. Like about 18, I said, I want to do it professionally. I want to be a millionaire and draw like Justice League Avengers and all this kind of my plans. And then I took a look at like Jim Lee and Talbot from. It's like, man, I can't draw this. It's too good. So I just gave it up. Right.
I see.
Life happened, career happened, family happened. And 2014, I says, if I don't do something, I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life. Because I had all these ideas, but I never put it out there. And so like you said, take that plunge, and I did. And with issue 1, it took about a year to do because I didn't know nothing about it. But since then, it's just been something steamrolling and just it's so exciting and rewarding. That's the whole thing about doing something that you believe in, doing something that you have a passion, desire for. It's just fun. And
your comics are distributed on all the local comic shops?
Yes, local comic stores. Bishop Museum carries it. There's a lot of other venues. Some on the island, I could have a whole list, but you probably just, if you go to monocomics.com, you can see who we have that's actually has it in their store.
Okay, so you have now, but at 2022, you're more the creative head of Monocomics.
I prefer to be known like that because I have a great team. Like I said, DJ Calvicani is working on this particular book. I worked with DJ in the past for some of the other Amakula series, and he just killed it with like drawing Supersized Soleil and Phantom Surfer story. Totally loved his artwork, and to me, there's nobody that beats him as far as drawing local culture type style books. That's all DJ. He's familiar with that. For me, it's like, oh, this is like my uncle. Oh, this is like my cousin. It's that type of input and the stuff he's putting in. I can't get that from like someone from the mainland or from wherever. He knows it. He lives it. So it was a perfect click.
Favorite comic book superhero that isn't Monocomics?
Oh, you scared me. I thought you were going to say something else. But favorite superhero. I have this whole showcase. It's kind of an odd thing, but I like a Robin. And when I say Robin, I say Green Underwear Robin because...
Got it. Dick Grayson Robin.
Yes, Dick Grayson Robin, because George Perez and Marv Wolfman's run on Teen Titans to me was just iconic, the best thing. And to take someone like Robin, who not necessarily like the Dark Knight Batman, he just kind of stands out, right? Yeah. But he wrote him so good about this hero that was tired of living in his mentor shadow over here, but he was able to rise to the occasion, and he just fought like hell to be that leader, with all these other beings around him, his teammates, and he had to be that much more better. He'd always have to train. So that vision of Robin, that's why I love that character so much. And thank God for George Perez is in the hospital, or he's recovering actually now at home. But yeah, so my warm aloha goes out to him. But those guys were my inspiration growing up as a kid, as far as creating something. Like, I just love to run to the comic store and look for that next issue. Yeah. Got you.
Favorite storyline, Marvel, DC, whatever.
Ooh, you pulling out the tough
Might
questions,
as well.
brother.
You gotta have it like
Yeah, I mean, for Marvel, I've always loved that Phoenix run they had in the X-Men.
Okay.
That was just totally clever. More recently, I love the Identity Crisis. That one was just killer, and it was written by someone who didn't necessarily write comics. He forgot his name.
Brad Meltzer?
Yeah, Brad Meltzer. He just wrote those characters, and it was like C-list characters. When you can write a C-list character or a D-list character, make them be freaking scary, then you're a badass.
That's right.
You're a badass, and this goes on to stuff like when you see like Suicide Squad or Galaxy's the Guardian. Those aren't necessarily A-listers. Those are like CDs, and you're writing them to make people want you know what I'm saying? You've taken it to the next level. You're a good creator and writer if you can do that.
Yeah. All right, Chris, this has been a great interview.
Yes, thank you.
I'm curious if there's the next generation, the 9-10-year-olds that are going to pick up this book and go, man, I want to do that too. What should they do? Not just sit down and read, but like in 5-10 years when they're an adult and they're ready to produce something this level. What do you say to them? How do you say don't quit? what path should they take?
Well, you're pretty much saying everything that I want to say right there. However, if I was to add stuff, like what I'm trying to do is build it so I can pass that torch for that next gen to come up and say, okay, you took it that far. Let me go those next steps. So I can believe in myself because I seen you do it. I seen you doing something that you love. I want that too. And for them to go at it. So when I'm building this Mana universe, I'm also considering like, this is like potential jobs I could be giving, some opportunities I could be giving to somebody else, like for either writing about Mana comics, making a cartoon, for the movies, casting these local kids coming up. I realize that it can be a huge impact. Because can you imagine like to have characters, my characters that I created, and someone like Loki Kid is acting like for Mighty Moke. And I think like for someone like Jason or Rock, they're having to do like Aquaman and Black Adam. But imagine having to do a character that represents their nationalities. Like I got Super Size Soleil, so you got The Rock doing that. I got Mighty Moke. You could have Jason doing that. I just think that's a really good thing, and I want that next generation to just take where I left off and keep on running. It's sky's the limit. We're kind of untapped over here in Hawaii. To be honest, we're an untapped resource. So get learning, get reading, and just do it.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, this has been Jordan and Chris. MJRL Hobby Stuff Video. Check out the Instagram, MJRL Hobby Stuff Video. Check out the Mana Comics Instagram. Is it Mana Comics?
Monocomics.com for more news about Kamehameha and just to learn about our other comics as well.
And go to the Kickstarter in the link in the description. Don't forget, there's the $10,000 big mahalo, big thank you level.
Who's that McScrooge out there that's diving in their coins? Maybe they can throw it to you.
That's the best joke. I was scrolling through the thing. I'm like, $10,000. No.
Dream big. Nothing.
Big. You get nothing but a thank you.
Wow.
Why not? Put it in there.
Put it in there. Who knows?
All right, guys. Aloha.
That cover is him coming out of retirement. He hasn't done a cover in a long time. Everybody else
You, right? This is your artist.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about it for a long time, and I kept poking at him, and I'm gonna go, and it's beautiful. I just love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, like I said, I prefer to be at a stage in this, in my life where I'm trying to build a universe. So I want to be like Portuguese Stan Lee.
Sure.
And
No,
just kind of like delegate stuff happening, all these projects,
Yep.
keep it moving. Because if I was to hyper-focus and do one, it'll take me 2 years. I don't got time for that. I want to keep it going as long as possible and to keep building upon it. So yeah, like you said, but I just felt compelled to say, hey, I got to be a part of that because it's to me, it's historic. I got to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So.